Hi, it's Carly.
Hi, it's Nay, and this is Hotties with the Poddy, a podcast where two hotties talk about what's important to them in a non-newsy, broadcasty way.
That's right. You tell it, girl.
That's us.
I'm excited to be here. I miss you. I don't know. I think last time we recorded, I was still at home, but I moved to a new place. So I am further away from Nay. Just wanted to give that update because I'm long distance.
I know the vibes are off in LA. Mm-hmm. We've talked about this before on the podcast, but the vibes are off. We miss her. But yeah, I miss you too. And I'm excited to visit Carly soon and look at her room and her bed frame. That's coming soon. So
yes, I'm sleeping on the floor.
Yeah. Woo! No, not woo. Get the fuck away, spiders. Okay. Oh God. Okay, so what's up? How was your week? What is your rose and thorn of this week?
Okay. So let's say my success of the week was that I accepted a new job. So now I'm going to be working 2 jobs. I'm really trying to take it slow because it's been a really hard adjustment. Like I forget that moving is like a stressor, like one of like the top 5 major stressors in a person's life. And it like doesn't feel that way theoretically, but like it really has been a process, and adjusting is like hard for me to do because I just like being organized. And so like being flexible has been hard, but I am really excited about this new job, and making enough money to survive is very exciting.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
My success. And then my hot mess of the week. Great question. I think like less of a hot mess and more of just like generally difficult things is like I've been at home alone most of the week, and I get like really paranoid at night. I feel like I don't even think this is a hot mess, but this is just like generally something that I find like kind of embarrassing, because it's like I know that I'm a woman, and like it makes sense that I would be afraid of like people coming into my house at night, but like double check all the doors, like locking everything, like making sure all the windows are closed. Like I do like a full check, and then I lock my bedroom door just in case somebody's like hiding somewhere. I'm 100% paranoid that somebody is just going to come out of the woodwork and like kill me.
Absolutely.
Testament to me listening to too much My Favorite Murder, but
I don't think it's like a fault of your own, because I could relate to it to a certain extent. I like triple check all my locks before I go to bed. And I even bought like an extra lock on TikTok, which I said I would use every day, but I may or may not use every day. But like, I understand, because just the nature of living life as a woman, unfortunately. So yeah, I don't blame you for like doing all of that. But I understand, girly. I didn't know that moving was a top 5 stressor. That's interesting. That makes fucking sense, actually, because I moved last year and like it was a transition. I wouldn't characterize it as a stressful transition, but it's definitely a transition that you like feel in different ways. So that makes sense. Also, the second job is news to me, so fucking congrats. That's really cool. I'm going to have to pick your brain about that later. That's amazing. But yeah, Carly's killing it, honestly, in San Diego. Yeah.
Thanks, girl.
Yeah, it's definitely a new adjustment, new chapter. But I think like we're manifesting good experiences for Carly. And it's like San Diego's very much like her vibe. So like, you know, she's getting acquainted, meeting people. She's residing in a part of San Diego that's super like adorable, that I really like. And like, yeah, things are like walkable. Yeah. Carly and I like love walks and shit. So like, that's good. Okay. Anyway.
Nay, what's your success and hot mess this week?
I'll start with the fucking hot mess. My hot mess is that like, we talked about it last week on the podcast in episode 3, but like, sometimes like my health issues get kind of like fucking annoying where it's interfering. So like Carly and I talked on the phone the other day for like a while, and she's just helping me talk through things that, you know, sometimes like, I don't know if like other people could relate. But it's like when you're like, I don't know, feeling some type of way, or like I wouldn't even say feeling some type of way, but like experiencing your health issue. Like it's like sometimes hard to be clear about like what's going through your head or like how you're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Like people who may not deal with health issues, mental health issues, or have diagnoses, like the way that people speak and like function can be very different, like simply put. And so like when you're having a conversation with someone, let's say you're just upset and like you're somebody who can function like the average Joe, like you don't really deal with any mental health problems and you're able to like go to work and, you know, you feel sad sometimes, like life trips you up, but everything's good, you know, for the most part. Like you're able to kind of just generalizing here, but you're able to kind of like talk it through and be like, I feel upset about this because like my girlfriend, like, you know, said she didn't want to like go to the brewery with me. And it's like you're able to like verbalize that clearly. Yeah. For me, if I'm like going through my thingy, my health thingy, like it's really hard for me to be clear sometimes. So like I need like the people that I talk to about it, like my close friends, few of them, and then like my therapist, like they're very patient and like they understand like the fragile nature of like the conversation. So they're very like, they like get that. So they don't expect me to like, I don't think like be clear sometimes. But like anyway, and that's my hot mess of the week. Carly was just like listening to me Thursday. I was like crying, like couldn't really describe things as well as I want to, but whatever, like at least I have people in my life who can like help me like talk through things. And then Rose was just like a reminder again that like the people I work with are like phenomenal and like they're just all in my corner. So that was my Rose of the week. So
awesome, Nay. So awesome. And like I'm so happy that you're talking about your health openly and like that you are willing to ask for help with those things. Like it's so hard for me personally to ask for help from other people. So like seeing you do it makes it feel easier for me sometimes. And
that's so nice of you to say. You make it easy for me to ask for help because you're so like non-judgmental and stuff. Like I'm glad to hear that though, but it's like that's why I'm sharing, because I'm like, if you can like relate in any kind of way, even if you can't directly, but you have like a girlfriend or like you have a sibling who like goes through stuff, like yeah. Well, we're always, I feel like Carly and I are always going to talk about mental health in some way, shape, or form on the podcast. So it'll always be like a continued conversation. But I think people are more open to talking about mental health and like self-care and all of that. I've said this a billion times to Carly, but like I just would like to see more of an in-depth, not just understanding, like emotional understanding, like that's pivotal, but like also just people being knowledgeable. Like this is a health issue. Like if someone is saying like, I am diagnosed with X or like I'm experiencing these symptoms, like it's not because they're upset or like they're like going through a hard time. You can't generalize it like that. Like when people are like going through a health thingy, like it's a health thingy. So it's like, I really believe that it should be treated as such in like every way. So it's my TED Talk of the day.
No, I agree with you. I think we should take people seriously when they say that they're experiencing things. And even though we haven't experienced it ourselves, at least like be willing to listen and open to hearing their experience with it as like just humans who like want to be there for other humans. I think that's just who Nay and I are. And I assume that a lot of our listeners are the same way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, Carly, thank you for freaking being Carly. Okay, we're talking about ghosting today. Do you have like any initial thoughts you want to share about ghosting before we like go in?
I don't think I have like a ton of like initial thoughts. I have experiences with it. I think everyone has. It's just like a communication issue that we just deal with. I think especially as like millennial Gen Zers who like use technology as like our main form of like communication with people, like a lot of texting and DMs and stuff like that I don't think my parents would have experienced like over the phone. I guess I might have like calling people and not ever hearing back from them.
Their generation's ghosting.
Exactly.
We should ask. Like, I don't know about asking my parents, but like
I know. I'll ask my mom. My mom likes to talk about her old dating experiences and stuff. So I'll see if she's got any previous phone ghosting experiences. But like it's just a pattern that we experience. And like as much as we like to say that we hate being ghosted, I think it's fair to say that everyone has ghosted at some point. And I kind of want to talk about like how that happens and like why we just continue doing things that way. Any thoughts for you, Nay? Any initial points?
I mean, responding to like what you just shared, like, yeah, I agree. I think like everyone has ghosted. Like whether you like never went on a date with that person or like you've gone on a few dates with that person, whatever like the context might be, like I feel like a lot of everyone has like done it in some way. Unless you've like just been in a long-term relationship or like you don't really date, like those are the exceptions. Yeah. Okay, so like
and Nay, I think like something important to point out too is that like a lot of my ghosting has been more with like friendship situations too. We mainly use it in a dating sense, but like I also have like ghosted kind of acquaintances, like people that I was like maybe starting to develop a friendship with and just it didn't work out.
Absolutely.
So like we see it a lot in dating, but I think like a lot of friends and like it's just something that we do in relationships with other people.
Absolutely. That's interesting when you put it in a friend context. I think when it comes to ghosting, I lean obviously like more on the side of like you should communicate, and you know, ghosting can be very disrespectful and like immature, but like context matters. Like in those like few types of situations where it just makes more sense, like let's say you've like hung out with someone on like friendship, right? Like friendship wise, like you hang out with somebody like a few times and you don't really know them, like you met them like at a fucking like party and you're like, hey, we should hang out. And then like you hang out a few times and then like for one reason or the other, it doesn't have to be like super serious of a reason or anything, but like for one reason or the other, like you're like, oh, like just kind of stop talking as much after like a few hangouts or whatever. I don't necessarily think that like that garners like a serious conversation of, hey, like we need to talk. Yeah. I'm not really feeling this anymore because like blah, blah, blah. I think like context matters. Sometimes it makes more sense to not necessarily ghost, because I feel like that word can be kind of like strong, but like it makes more sense to just kind of like let the relationship be for the time being, where you don't like really hang out for the time being for whatever reason. I don't know if that made sense, but just trying to paint that like the situation matters. And then when it comes to dating, like
No, exactly. Exactly what you're saying. Like context is the most important thing. Like, and I guess it's not really ghosting if like it's mutual. I think that's the thing that's different about like ghosting is that one person has decided that they don't want to be part of the relationship anymore and like doesn't say it. Versus like kind of situations you're describing too, where people like mutually are like, we're just going to get some distance and like not hang out for a while. And it doesn't need to be like directly stated. And I think those are like two different things. And obviously it's like nicer when it's mutual. And it sucks more when it's like a ghosting, like one person has decided type situation. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, it's okay. Like I agree with you. It always makes it easier when like two people like are on the same page and you're like, okay, we don't have to like have that like weird conversation. But yeah, it's interesting that you bring the friend aspect up. I think it's like cool to go into that as well when it comes to ghosting. But like, I guess as far as dating goes, back to the point of context, like mattering, I think if somebody that you're dating is like behaving in a way that's disrespectful or like harmful to you or like creepy, like even if you've like hung out with that person, some situations you don't really owe people an explanation based on the way you feel like you've been treated. So I think those are like the exceptions. But for the most part, like generally speaking, on the receiving end and the giving end, I just prefer like clear communication. And it like doesn't have to be like this big deal or anything. Like I remember I went on a date with this guy a long time ago, like a few years ago, and he was like a Hinge guy. He was like this really like sweet, adorable guy. And then like we went on 2 dates and then sorry, I'm like thinking about it. So I'm like, okay. No, because we follow each other on Instagram and like he's dating someone I went to high school with, which is so fucking interesting. Like, yeah. See, okay. Anyway. Okay, so yeah.
We went on 2 dates and then
went on 2 dates and then and he texted me a few days after the second date. And it was very simple text. It was just like, hey, like, I'm not feeling it anymore. Like no explanation. Like I hung out with this guy So like, I felt like he wasn't a douche or anything. Like he wasn't just like, hey, not feeling it. And then like, see you later. Like it was like just him letting me know, like, you know, we're not going to hang out again. And it's like, I remember being on the treadmill when I used to go to the gym, but like, I saw that text and I was like, it felt like not good, obviously, but like, because he did that, it's not weird anymore. Like he's responded to my Instagram stories before. I've done the same thing. We've done that before and it's not weird because like that was clear, if that makes sense. Like if we ended on more ambiguous terms, let's say he ghosted me, then like I would still feel weird about it because I would have never had that explanation. So I think it's healthy for both people to like receive that and then give that. And you need to give yourself permission to be on both ends because like that's the honest and healthy thing to do. And I'm so sick of these fucking like dating app boys like who are like fucking 28 and 29 and 30 like doing this shit, like this ghosting shit in situations where I feel like I would have much preferred like them letting me know that they're like not into it. Not that it's happened to me a lot of times, but it's like the times that it's happened, I'm like, you're like 27. Can you just tell me like
I know.
Let me know. I have a lot to say. Like, I get it. I'm like a lot to listen to, but it's like, can you just let me know? Like,
it just literally like, hey, I just wanted to let you know I'm not interested. But thank you for your time. That's all I need. Simple. I don't need any
Sometimes
more than
if you go with the explanation, it's too much. It's too much. So it's sometimes just keeping it short like that. And make sure it makes sense to the situation. Like, you don't want to copy and paste like your I'm not interested anymore text. Like, it has to make sense for like, you know, the relationship.
Keep a draft.
Yeah, just keep a fucking draft. Like, I'm over it. Like, love Nayoung. Yeah. Okay, but
thank you for sharing that story too, because I think that's like, it's really nice to have those experiences in the mix of the way that a lot of people experience like dating these days, which is just like, I never hear back. And I think like I kind of had the opposite experience of like, there was a person that I went on like my first like Bumble date with ever, after I got out of my long relationship. And like, I didn't read on their profile that they had said that they wanted to hook up. And I like was kind of in the middle in between where I like really wanted like a friends with benefits situation, like something that was fun and exciting and new, but didn't necessarily mean that we had to like be in a relationship. But I just like only know how to be in a relationship. So that's just kind of where I was at. And so we went on this date. And then he had asked me to go back to his place to like hang out in the hot tub. And I was like, I know what that's code for.
Yeah, that's code for make out with me.
Yeah, exactly. And I like in my head just hadn't thought that that was a possibility because I didn't read on his profile that that's what he was looking for. And so I had to like make the decision in my head. So like anyway, I ended up spending the night at his place. And then over like throughout the night, I just got like more attached to him because he was kind of like meeting the bar a lot of what I was looking for. And I had the feeling in my stomach that like he wasn't looking for another date. So it was just like a like weird, like happy, sad time. And then he drove me home in the morning. And I like asked it, well, this is a lot of details, but I like asked him if he was going to remember me. And he was like, yeah, I'll remember you. And we like talked more. Like I wasn't expecting him to talk to me at all afterwards. I was like, that's it. And I like cried about it for like a couple of days of like, it's because it's nice to have those experiences where you really connect with somebody, but it like sucks when it doesn't work out. And so he like texted me on and off at like really weird times and I had no clue what he was looking for. And then like I was hoping that he would ask me out on another date, or like I was down to just hook up with him because I liked him at that point, but he never really let me know what he was wanting. And then
that's always hard when when you don't know. Yeah.
And you don't want to ask because you're like in this like vibe of like everybody wants to be chill and not label anything.
Yeah, you don't want to be the person who's like, so what are you looking for? Because like I feel like that's very taboo in dating.
Yeah, but also it was like clear of what he was looking for, you know, and
it was clear to your stomach, dude. Like you gotta listen to your stomach feeling. Yeah.
So eventually he just like didn't respond, and I took that as a sign that he like didn't want to talk anymore, and we never reached out, and so like that was kind of my ghosting. And at the time it like I ruminated on it for like 6 months to a year, like a long time of just like, this person could have been somebody that I had a thing with, and it just like didn't work out. And like, what could I have done differently? And I think that somebody telling you like straight up, like what they're wanting, like, I don't want to talk anymore. Like, it was so great meeting you, but like, I don't think this is going to work out. And just like closing the book and not talking anymore is better than me wasting a year of my time thinking about my own fantasies of something that like could have just been eliminated by him saying like, I don't really know what I'm looking for, but I don't want to waste your time, and like, thank you.
There's a really good lesson in there. I completely agree with you. I completely agree.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's shitty. It's shitty in the moment. And like, I'm a year and a half to 2 years like past that experience. But it like, I'm like super scared of being ghosted. Part of the reason that I'm not on apps anymore is because I like don't really want to deal with rejection. Like, rejection in itself is like part of ghosting.
Absolutely.
And
you have every right to fear ghosting. I fucking fear ghosting too. I like, because people will be behaving unpredictably. Like, they will really, not to be like a fucking pessimist, but like, I don't want to be in a situation where I'm like hanging out with somebody and like going on dates and like feel like a good connection. Not necessarily like this person's gonna be my partner, but it's like a good connection, you know? And like, poof. Because I know that shit happens. It hasn't happened to me, luckily, like where I'm seeing someone for like a certain prolonged-ish period of time and that happens. But I know it happens because my For You page and like just the nature of how people date in our age group in today's day and age. So.
And like, I just think that's because we have shitty communication skills, truthfully. That, and like, we don't want to hurt other people, but like, that's kind of what happens in dating, and people are less hurt when you tell them versus not. But like, we don't really think that through. We don't want to spend that energy. We don't know how to properly say what we're feeling because.
But it's not a waste of energy. We want to know what's going on in that brain. Like, you can communicate without being like fucking weird or like overdoing it. Not that like, even if it's weird, like, please just communicate. But like, there are ways to do it. You don't have to be like, let's sit down and like have this serious. Like, it could just be super casual. Like, normalize not being an idiot. Like,
I like that. And I think you and I are more special than the average people. Like, not, sorry, listeners, not to say that that we're just special in certain ways, where like you and I are like developing our communication skills a lot more. And like, I think that some people just like don't practice and don't have those skills.
And they don't have people around them. I don't know. They don't have people around them like a Carly, who, if they're like sitting down, hanging out with their friend, like I'm hanging out with Carly, I'm telling her about a date I had, but like I did something that like could have been done differently. Like Carly, like that friend who's going to tell you like, hey, like, did you want to like let him know, or like kind of give you that feedback? Like, not everybody has people around them who have a good toolkit or like to talk about this stuff like in the way that we do. And that doesn't make us better people or anything. That's not what I'm trying to fucking say in my tone. But I think like it's just important to acknowledge like some people prioritize like certain things and then not others, like simply put. So
And like, from like kind of understanding like a masculine mind perspective, like based on gendering and things like that, like I think that like men are taught such different things about communication and like what needs to be said or what needs to be done, like especially because they're taught like that business mindset, a lot of them. Like, if dating is seen as a thing where like you have to prioritize your time wisely, and then like they might not even feel like they really need to send.
And they're like, okay, like, what is it? Cue deep voice, deep bratty voice. Okay, so like, what can I get out of this? It's like, can you just fucking understand that not everything is transactional? Like, maybe some people are just interested in you. Like, but yes,
no, exactly.
I agree that like, it's okay to be emotional. Like, I say that in like a weird, funny, sarcastic tone, but I'm being serious. Like, it's okay to not think in a businessy way about things that are very important, like relationships and getting to know people and connecting and stuff. It's okay. You'll be okay. I promise. Like give yourself a little.
Yes. And this is just like based on my understanding of like stereotypes and my experience, like talking to certain men and kind of understanding their points of view.
Yeah.
But like that's not the same for everyone. And I'm just trying to like put myself in somebody else's shoes, because I know Nay and I personally wouldn't prioritize those things and like do dating that way. So I'm just trying to think about like from other people's perspectives. Nay, have you ever?
In the sweetest voice. I'm trying to think about other people's. Yeah, that's Carly. Yeah, no, absolutely. It's important to understand, even if you don't necessarily agree or like, yeah.
Have you ever ghosted anyone? Because I know we all have. Like I can speak from experience about like mainly. I've never ghosted anybody that I've been on dates with, but I've ghosted like acquaintances and like people who I was maybe forming friendships with that I just wasn't personally feeling and didn't really want to spend more time talking to.
Yeah.
And it feels like a weaselly way to do things. Like I don't feel good about it, but like I just like sometimes want to avoid having those conversations, like because I don't want to hurt other people by being like, we don't really jive. Like I don't really, because like sometimes it is more personal of like, I just, you know, like we might have similar interests, but I just don't really feel like our personalities vibe. And I like don't want anybody to like take it too personally.
Yeah.
Because most of the time it's about me. And most of the time when you do get ghosted, it's not about you. It's about the other person.
Absolutely. And sometimes you just have to like, when you are about to approach conversation, sometimes you have to say that piece, like be really clear about what it means when you're saying, basically, I'm not interested, however you decide to word that. Like, because the average Joe, like the average human being, like they, like you and I are like invested in shit like this. Like we care about like we just like to read up on and like talk about and think about and contemplate and reflect on like communication and connection and shit like that, because we're generally interested in those subjects. But like the average person might lean on the side of taking things more personally. So like it's good to just be clear. But yeah, to answer your question, yes, there's honestly nothing in particular that comes to mind. That's not to say like, oh my God, I've just been like so perfect at this. Like I'm not an expert. Like we're here to talk about ghosting. We're not here to like coach our listeners about like how they should think about ghosting or anything. It's like clearly Carly and I both have like experiences where we both ghosted or like we have like complex like feelings around this topic. So like, yeah, like obviously we like practice communicating and like doing all of that, but we also are like human beings. So like take note of that. But when it comes to ghosting, nothing in particular comes to mind, but like, yeah, as far as friends go, I don't know if I would personally characterize the certain friendships that are coming to mind right now as ghosting rather than just losing touch or something. So like if they reached back out, like let's say they live in like San Francisco or something and they like reached out and they're like, I'm in LA, do you want to grab coffee? I'd be like, yeah, of course, like sure. Like it's kind of just like, especially after I graduated, like that gap of years, if that makes sense, in between graduation and where I'm at right now. Like, and after this year, like literally I was not keeping in touch with a lot of people last year. So I guess that's the way that I'm thinking about it right now. But like ghosting guys, I haven't really done it in like the most recent years. I feel like there are times when I don't respond to like Bumble and Hinge messages, but it's usually in the very initial phases. Like if they say something weird that makes me feel kind of weird, like not excited anymore, or like we match and then I'm like, I don't feel inclined to message, which is like a whole different topic. Like I think for me that, yeah, like to answer your question, it's like mostly quote unquote ghosting in the very initial phases. I would like to think that I also can't speak on too many experiences because, to be honest with our listeners, like I haven't been on a lot of dates in the recent years. Like I've only dated like a few people. So like, yeah. But I would like to think I'm very clear. The last guy that I dated for like 3 months, like we went on dates. He wasn't my boyfriend or anything. Like I ended it in person. I told him that I would if I felt like I was going to. And I was like, we met at a Starbucks and he wasn't always very nice to me, but like I still did that, not because like I'm such a good person, but because it was for me. Like I do that and I try to do what I say, simply put, for me, because that is the type of person I am. And even though at that time I wasn't as clear with how I worded it as I wanted to be, obviously he understood what I was trying to say, but like, it's still good that I did that. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'm not going to ghost anymore. I think like when it comes to dating, I'm just like not going to ghost. Also, if someone like does something that I don't really like I'd rather just tell them if it feels appropriate than like being like, okay, I didn't like that, see you later.
And then have them never know and like never learn from it.
And then they overthink. You have to like, you can't protect people's feelings, but you want to be considerate of them. You know, everyone has like insecurities. Everyone overthinks when they get rejected. They're like, oh fuck, what did I say? You know, that was me a couple weeks ago. Like full disclosure, Carly knows this. I was like, what the fuck did I fucking say now? This guy just like poof. He was like, I'm looking forward to taking you out. Let me be the first guy to take you out when you dye your hair blonde and shit. I was like, hell yeah, let's go fucking like, let's have fun. Let's get to know each other. And then poof, like a fucking ghost. So
I know.
Yeah. But
terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible. It like makes me angry. I think like ghosting is one thing. If you're like talking and you like maybe went on a couple of dates and you like kind of are just starting things and not really like, you don't really know where the vibe is, but it's different when like a person is like, I want to take you out.
Yeah, he's like saying all
let's
this
go
bullshit
on a date, like over and over again. Like
he's like, let me be the first guy to take you to a sports bar. I was like, hell yeah, let's go like watch some soccer, even though I don't know anything about soccer, but like he was really hot. I was like excited, but
I know. It's just dumb. Like why, like I don't get why people do that. It doesn't make sense to me.
There's a second dating app guy to do it during this year. Like, yeah. So I think Carly and I just don't like it when, I don't think anyone likes it when people say shit and they don't like follow through. Like if I was weird through text or if I said something, if roles were reversed and I was saying some like really goofy things and I was like, this is kind of weird for me. If I said that I would take you out, I would still do it. So I would give myself a chance to actually like see it in person. It's not weird, but it's like Carly and I just like it when people like say things and then they simply do them. I don't think either of us are a big fan when it's like, Carly, let's record this podcast at like 11. And then like, I like don't come. Like, we don't like that stuff. So
I just like clarity. I just like knowing shit. Like, I want to understand like why you do what you do, like, so that I can understand like you better. And if you don't like tell me, then I just never really know what happened.
I like that a lot. That's very
like
mature.
I'm just curious, dude. Like people are interesting and we have a lot of quirks and shit like that. But like, everybody's different, but I just want people to like be honest. Like if you didn't have a good time, then let me know, like, thank you for your time. But I think that I'm looking for something different or like
absolutely
in Nay's case, like with this dude, like please
Bumble
like
boy.
Just legit. Like it makes me so angry that like don't make promises if you're not going to keep them.
I agree. And I didn't say anything. If you look at Carly's seen the screenshots. I didn't fucking say shit that was like weird or rude. I was just being myself. So you didn't like that.
No. And then she had like asked herself if she had done anything and she didn't do anything. He was giving her direct messages that he wanted to see her and talk to her more. Yeah. Like, how are we supposed to do anything different if we don't know that we're supposed to do something different?
And it's not good for people. Obviously it doesn't feel good, but it's not good for me because it's not good for me to have these types of reoccurring experiences because it makes me feel like even when there is something really cool going on, between me and another person, that I can't trust it. Like they're going to like it always like you have to be removed and quote unquote chill and shit because you don't want to expect anything and like you're not sure if they're like how they're feeling, even if they're showing you how they're feeling. It's just not healthy. So like I agree with Carly. I think clarity and information, and I love that you highlighted that because that's such a mature point to make. And I fully agree with you. Like people do have quirks, and I think not that you can be quirky about ghosting, but it's good to just have information. Like, I'm just not in the place, to see it. I'm not in the place that I thought I would be. So I'm not able to hang out anymore. Like something like that. So
yeah. Or like, I'm busy. Yeah. Like I'm going away for a week. Like I I don't know. It's tough. It's tough because sometimes it like even feels like a lie when people say shit like that. But
just
like,
be clear and as honest as possible.
Exactly. It's like, it's going to hurt a lot less. It's going to hurt everybody a lot less if they just like know. And they're like, okay, that's the situation. I can't change that versus like, what did I say? What did I say to make them not respond? And
I know fucking me. But at the same time, I acknowledge that like men suck. So I'm like,
truly,
it's fine. Like,
truly,
whatever. Yeah. Okay. But anyway,
is there like a line where you think like it's okay, like to an extent? Like, I know we talked about like maybe when people make you feel like say something that makes you feel uncomfortable and you just like don't want to engage anymore, like, especially in the talking stage. Like, I think for me, that's okay. But like once you start meeting them in person, I think that's the limit. For me.
I get that. Even a first date sometimes, again, it depends on how it goes and like what the quote unquote vibe is. Like if you're like really connecting on a first date, follow up if you don't want to go on the second date. But if it's like a really awkward date where you feel like the other person also understand that there's like not really a connection, like I don't necessarily think that it just is really dependent. But
yeah,
having this conversation with you today makes me think that I'm really just going to communicate always. Like, yeah.
good.
It's not a promise, but that means that I'm just going to try.
I would love to like hold you accountable by someday posting like a screenshot of like you ending something with somebody. Absolutely. Just to like see.
Model
and I'm happy to do the same thing if I was like out in the scene. Like I'm not on apps. I'm not like talking to anybody.
You're not missing anything.
I assume I'm not. After hearing your stories and just hearing like everybody's stories with it, like I'm not ready for that yet. I am
absolutely
too fragile.
Yeah, and I think that you just can simply meet people in person, obviously, but it's like you're not missing much on there. Just a lot of swipes, a lot of empty conversations, like yeah. But yeah.
This dating apps talk it usually ends in sadness, doesn't it? Except for like the people that have good experiences with it. I just personally haven't.
I agree with that. It's interesting in a good way for the people that it works out for, or just people who haven't really had to experience these things because they've been in a long-term relationship and stuff. Good for them. Or like they met their boyfriend. Yeah, like I was just like walking on campus and like this guy just like randomly came up to me and and like don't look back ever since that day. Like and then we've been dating for 5 years. We're thinking of like moving. Like I like cannot relate. Like I'm always like so happy for my friends and like peers who like share stories like that. But I'm like, what the fuck? I walk around everywhere. Like I'm like, what are you guys fucking talking about? They're like, yeah, we started off as friends, and then one day he like made this cute joke, and then now we're like dating. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, that's amazing.
Right. But how do I get that?
Meanwhile, I'm like fucking swiping with Carly on Bumble. I'm like, what do you think of this guy? Like, she's like, he's okay. Yeah, literally. But yeah, there's like so much to this topic. There's a lot to say about ghosting. I think the bottom line where a lot of people could agree, if not everyone, is that like no one likes to be ghosted, you know? And I think as much as I don't enjoy dating just because of the more negative experiences that I've had, I wish I could enjoy it. I really do hope that I meet some people this year where I can really focus on the connection that we're sharing, even if it doesn't work out. Even if it doesn't work out, I'm like, it would just be fucking nice and refreshing to really just focus on the good parts of dating. Like, you know, not having to worry about being ghosted, really focusing on like what you guys share in common, and like just learning new things about a new person and stuff. Like, it's just super draining and disappointing that like dating could be such like a good, positive experience, but it's just not sometimes. So where was I going with that?
I want that for you too. And like I guess that's the thing is like we have hopes for the future and hopes that like people who hear this maybe will like think about their own behavior and kind of maybe want to transform. Like you can always feel free to reach out to us and ask us like how to respond to like a situation that you don't really feel like you know how to. Like we're always happy to help with that if you can't find the words or like don't really know what to do.
Absolutely.
But I want to see like more positive dating experiences, especially for Nay, because I know it like it's just been so hard lately, and I just like don't want anybody to have to deal with that anymore.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate your support and just like your love around that. Cause like
Just pause vibes.
but it's like, yeah, like I know that there's a lot to say. The conversations that I have with my girlfriends around dating is very similar. It's mostly not positive. We're just always complaining. And like, I think it's important to acknowledge that like, if we don't like this, like it doesn't have to be that way based on the way that we choose to behave. I can't change like dating culture in America, but it's like what I can do is like the people that I interact with, like I can try to communicate better and like do things differently because we can like hate something, but we all contribute to it in one way or the other. So like the only way to break that is by like changing your behavior. So it's very simple. Like what I'm saying is not revolutionary. It's a very simple thing. But yeah, just like I really hope to just focus on the fun and the connection moving forward.
Yes. I love that for you, Nay. I'm excited for that. I hope we're manifesting.
We're manifesting a fucking zaddy. I need like I need that for both of us when we both feel like we want to be in a relationship. Like I really want like a smart zaddy that's very competent and very like someone who's really sexy and smart. Like that would be so refreshing. Like sexy, smart, maybe some tattoos. I've talked to Carly about this, but like good at his job, but like doesn't make his job his whole identity. But like very cute and like empathetic, but also very like cerebral, like Carly. Yeah, I get along really well with people who are very cerebral, but like also sensitive. Yeah, I have a lot of close friends that are like that. So
if you know anybody that is as Nay described, please email us at hottieswiththepoddy@gmail.com. We will be taking applications for Nay's future partner.
6'5" or 6 feet and over, please. I appreciate you making that plug, but we'll see. We'll see. Okay, but anyway, do you have any like final thoughts on ghosting, just in general?
I think the one takeaway that I always have based on like my past experiences is that if you are ghosted, it's never about you and what you did. It's always about the other person and kind of what they're going through and where they're at mentally.
It's a good reminder.
So don't think that you're not good enough because you didn't hear back from them.
Absolutely.
That's my final take on it.
That's really important to remember.
But I think Nay is right. And overall, like the motto of today is that nobody likes being ghosted. So don't ghost people. Yeah. Period. Okay.
Okay. But
do you want to talk about some like positive, hotter things, Nay?
Positive, hotter things?
Yeah.
Okay. Life is generally good. I've already talked to Carly about this, but life is really generally good. I have really good people in my life. Carly being a very, very big one. Very big one. Really good therapist who's like helping me with a lot of stuff. And then really great people at work who actually give a fuck and like care about me. And then I live a very drama-free life. Like I've gotten a lot better at setting boundaries. I'm still working on that, but there's literally no drama. I literally just come home, roast my Brussels sprouts, talk to Carly, cry a little bit, go to bed at fucking like 9:30, 10 o'clock, watch some TikToks, wake up the next day, fucking get my yerba mate, and then walk to work and like super slowly because like I don't have to worry about a dumb boy or like anything. Like life is just fine. I go on my daily walk at the same park every day, which I will not disclose, but like at the same park every day.
At Hot People
Listen
Park.
to my podcasts, like listen to like albums that like people that I like listening to like have released and shit. Like life is just fine. How about you?
I mean, I think I second everything that Naya said, like having people in my life that I love. I really like my housemate and I like the place that I'm living now. I feel like I'm like more connected to my family from far away. Like I can have good conversations with them, and my bond therapist. Shout out to Tanya.
Shout out to fucking Tanya. I fuck with her.
Love her. My plants are thriving. I'm going to start a garden in the backyard. I'm just like hyped to like start my new jobs. I'm like currently just beginning one of them and like just happy for what's to come for the rest of 2021 at least, and hyped for this podcast. I know we haven't released any episodes yet, but we're working on it. Episode 1 is like pretty much finished, so we're just figuring out timing and stuff, but very excited for everything that we're doing and everyone that we have in our lives.
I love this for us. Both of us like put in effort into our lives, simply put, and we care a lot about our friends and ourselves and how we treat other people and stuff. So I think this is really great to hear from you, like you sharing. And I think that after 2020, I'm really happy for both of us to like go into this next phase, like leave a lot of the very challenging stuff from last year, not behind, like remembering it, but like I'm really grateful that we are just in a different place in different respects. Like I'm very happy. Like Carly lives in like the cutest part of San Diego. It's like, I'm really happy. Yeah, this is really good.
Thank you. Me too. Also, if anybody hasn't noticed yet, Nay's blonde this week and she was not last week. So like small and big changes, like we're only like moving up from here, right?
Only up. If you're ever bored and like you want attention, literally bleach your hair blonde. Like people look at you, dude. Like I'm sure when I was brunette, people would look. I wouldn't notice as much, but I messaged my friend who also bleached his hair blonde before, and I asked him if that was true. I was like, do people like look at you more when you're blonde? And he was like, yes. And then I was like, it's interesting. So, yeah, like
good to
not
know.
Just look, but like I'll see like cute guys looking. I'm like, maybe
I'm sure they looked when you were brunette too, but like people love blondes. I'm gonna say brunette because I like being brunette, but like
I love you, brunette.
I love a blonde. I love like people who just like express themselves.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Of course.
Fun, so
it's true. Yeah. Look at her, she's living life.
Oh my gosh, thank you. I keep saying that I look like Hannah Montana. My supervisor laughed. He's like, haha. I was like, yes, I look like Hannah Montana. Okay.
Best of both worlds. Okay. Do you want to talk about Hotties of the Week?
Yes. Okay. Except I don't have any. So I'm handing it back to Carly. God.
Okay. I have 2 Hotties of the Week. So I'll do one for me and one for Nay.
Oh, yes.
So my first Hottie of the week is Anthony Ramos. He's the lead in The Heights, which is on HBOMax, and it's also out in theaters right now. I think it's probably still be by the time we air this, but like who knows? He's also been in Hamilton, and he's in She's Gotta Have It, which is on Netflix. Like the newer version of She's Gotta Have It.
It's already on
It's been for a while. I watched it when I was in grad school, and he plays Mars, who's like this he's just like this funny Latinx, one of the lovers. And he's just like one, actually just physically hot. He sings, just in general. And like I watched In the Heights last night, and his acting is like amazing. Like I just cried for like 50% of that whole movie.
I heard it's so good.
So good, May.
Yeah.
It's so good. We can watch it sometime.
I would love to. I love musicals, and
so
I've just heard so many good things. So
Lin-Manuel Miranda writes like the most amazing plays in general. Like not even just the musical piece. Like the musical piece is also amazing. Like the singing in it was so good, but like the story itself is like incredible. And I just like am so happy with the way that they made it. So
I love that.
Super happy with Anthony Ramos. He's also married to Jasmine Cephas Jones. I hope I'm pronouncing her middle name right. She was also in the original Hamilton cast. They like met together when they were both in the cast. And now she's like on Blind Spotting. I think it's on Showtime, but it might be on Stars. But she's like the lead in that now, and she's like beautiful and doing her own thing, and she's also making music, and they're just like the most gorgeous couple ever. So like they're just hot, like actually just hot.
I love that.
Mindy Kaling is my second hottie of the week.
Oh, hell
Just, like,
yeah.
shout out to Mindy Kaling.
Shout out to Mindy Kaling.
I think she's one of the most amazing writers ever. Like, not only just The Office and her own stuff, and Never Have I Ever, like, is kind of what she's working on now. Exactly. Like, and I read her memoirs. She wrote a couple of like different memoirs, and she's just
Carly.
like so funny, dude. Like, she's like, and she's so
she has to be. She fucking she doesn't always present that way in interviews, but I'm like, that lady's. She was a writer on The Office, and your brain has to be funny. Yeah, like.
Mm-hmm. And she's just herself. Like, she's herself in everything. And I feel like her personality and my personality relate a lot in just like her interests and her thoughts about things. So she's my second hottie of the week. And
I love that. Like, she's very cool. Like, yeah, shout out to like women of color in Hollywood. She really like, and Never Have I Ever season 1. That's a perfect show. Like, you could really see like I don't even know how to describe it, like the creativity, the labor, the nuance, like because she brought that like alongside her team who worked on that show. But it's like, you could just like that touch, like it's just really cool when, simply put, really talented people like get to do stuff like that. You really see that. Like, so even like within the Heights and I don't know, other shows that are really cool, like I don't know. I won't. This isn't my hottie of the week. She's just a hottie, but Ziwe and stuff, like very cool shows. Like, she should be your hottie of the week. She'll be my hottie of the week. She'll always be my hottie. But explain who Ziwe is for people who don't watch her show. Ziwe is a comedian. I haven't seen all the episodes because I don't have Showtime, but I keep up with the clips on Instagram and on YouTube. And I watched episode 1 because it's on YouTube. But she's just a comedian who I think is like the executive producer of that show and showrunner, and overall just has a lot of like creative leadership for her show. And I think it originated from Instagram Live during quarantine because she would do Instagram Live interviews with different people. I don't know too much about that because I didn't really know her back then. I knew more about her work once she got her show and it aired. But she's super funny. Like I really encourage people who are listening and curious who like comedy, like just simply enjoy comedy, to check her out because her work is very unique. I've never seen anything like that before. Just the format of the show and also the actual content that she's sharing. It's so funny. And I think like a lot of people could like relate to it in different ways. So I think the editing too, like literally every piece of her show, like in the stuff that I've seen, she's the musical guest everywhere. Yes, but her stuff is so good. Like it's like watching SNL, but if SNL had like every bit was good. Sorry, SNL. If every bit was good, like she's got interviews that she does with people that are just like funny in the most like cutting ways. Like she just like is very smart and good at improv and is just able to like jump really quickly to the joke. Exactly. Absolutely. So. It makes me feel really good when again, simply put, people get that like not opportunity, but it's like when people get a show and they like have that because you could see that. I don't know how else to explain it, but you could just really see them shine. Like, so it's really cool. It's very funny. She's like, she reminds me of Hassan Minhaj in just their vibe. Their vibe is very funny. It's not what they say is obviously really funny, but like just how they sit and like their demeanor, it's like cracks me up so bad. I think their interview style is interesting. Like Hassan is more, he's like more laid back version of Ziwe, but they both have that like buzzy energy that you just like feel through. Yeah, where they look at you a certain way too. Buzzy energy, and then they're like, and then it's like you can't tell if they're like being sarcastic or not. It's like, I don't know, it's funny. I agree. Good hottie of the week, Nay. Oh, thanks. But I love our hotties. Our hotties are fucking badass. And like, I hope that you check all of them out because, yeah. Agreed. And like because, continue to watch everything that they put out or like follow them on Instagram or, you know, like do whatever you feel comfortable with in your ability to just like keep track of them because they're on our radar. Absolutely. Any final thoughts for today before we wrap up, Nay? Final thoughts? I don't think so. How about you?
I don't think so either. I'm happy with like our conversation. It like has kind of a roller coaster, like emotional feeling. Just because like ghosting is sad, but I'm glad that we could like start and end on like higher notes and really talk today about kind of our experiences.
Absolutely. I love you. Okay.
Love you. Oh, so
I love that that's recorded. I'm like, I love you. Okay. Alrighty. So
we're gonna wrap it up.
The outro.
Okay,
I'm doing a hand
good.
movement. Okay.
All right. God. Subscribe to the Poddy if you want to be a hottie, and leave a 5-star review if you want to be cool.
I agree. And know your worth, and follow us on social media. And you can find all of that information in our Twitter and our Instagram bio and in our link tree, which links everything and how you can contact us.
And if you have any questions or need some advice, you can email us at hottieswithapoddy@gmail.com. Remember to be hot.
Alrighty. Peace.